So with that, we're going to bring up a couple who got into the multifamily. They're going to go over an IRO deal that we talked about here.
All right, so 2 more engineers here.
Yay! Go Nerds!
Although
I love all your slides and the graph and all that.
I had a meeting with my CPA yesterday, and I said, "Wow, I wish I was an accountant instead of an engineer. It would be way more helpful."
Yeah, it is. It really is.
All right, so my name is John de Cruz, and beautiful wife Corrie here next to me, married 20 years. We have 2 also kids, 19 and 17. As I mentioned, we're both engineers. We work on the oil and gas. Actually, I'm still working on the oil and gas, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We actually met in a construction site down in Venezuela, and so I was a souvenir here from Venezuela.
A souvenir?
Yes.
Oh, I remember that one.
I was a souvenir from there. So anyway, we typical engineers, we work very hard. 10 hours a day, right? And I was mentioning, like, you leave home dark, come back home dark. And we made it all the way to executives. I'm still working, and I'm an executive in the company where I'm working. But Corrie actually was able to retire on real estate in 2020, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So originally, both we've been working, we were talking to friends and we say, how can we were paying a lot of taxes, right? We were both working full time, good salaries, and we were just doing the 401k, and that's it. We were very conservative, maximizing 401k every year, and that's it. Not even in the stock market, nothing. We were just doing a little bit. So we wanted to lower the taxes and diversify our investment. And then one day we heard about lifestyle, right? And actually we did everything. We've been doing everything lifestyle, from single family, passive, IRO, and lead investment too. So as we
But y'all are very competitive, right? You guys are very competitive with the others. So they ahead of where we're going. So let me ask you this. Before you were talking about what your investments were before, versus when you've heard about lifestyles, did you know about real estate at all? I mean, it wasn't even a real estate vehicle, right?
Not at all.
A financial vehicle.
Not at all. We're engineers. We're just going to die as an engineer. That was and that's it, right? We didn't know anything better, right? And then we get involved with lifestyle, meeting people like Lee and David. Is like, hey, I want to be like those guys, right? Look. I want to be them.
We're bad examples. We're ugly. You married up.
No, but I'm talking about the freedom, really. I'm just talking about the freedom. So while we were working, actually,
I'm a souvenir too, though.
Yes. While we were working, actually, we started with 3 passive, and we said, this is too easy, right? Way too easy. So we were both working, and we can do single family.
Have to get their hands dirty. They didn't want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we both were working, we bought 3 single families right away, and that was quite some work, full-time work, plus on the weekend, the rehab, everything that the single family guy was talking about. So it was pretty busy.
But you made money.
Yes.
No,
yes, but time.
But you were scared to do that when you first did it, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it is really, and it's a natural thing. You're scared to buy your first single-family house. You're scared to buy your first 30 units. You're scared to passively invest your first 50,000, right? I mean, people work hard for their money, and they understand that. So when you give that away, that's a huge deal.
And let me share these. So we were scared like that, right? And in the beginning, we just used savings to buy our houses, but then we actually, that 401k, we pull out like 500k of our 401k to keep investing, and that's the switch, right? That's pretty freaking scary, right? To pull out that amount of money of the 401k.
I want you, when you come to my seminar this weekend, remember that this crazy man that's super conservative, that's an engineer, that has an underwear drawer that's perfect, pulled out 500k.
Oh, your underwear drawer.
It is. I'm an engineer, right? All right, so we progress, right? And as we were here in lifestyle, we've been actually transforming ourselves for what we want to do. So today we're going to talk about our 20 doors in Galveston. It's an IRO. So
I'm just curious, because I started out in the oil and gas business as well. And I know when I left the oil and gas business, what my net worth was versus what my net worth is now. Do you have any, like, you're still working, I get that, or you're still working, but like when you first started Lifestyle, your 401k was probably, and the equity in your house was probably most of your equity, right? And now versus the equity that you have now, would you say?
So we actually do almost on the weekends. So Corrie has an app. My wife, she has an app that keep track of our
there you go.
net worth, right? And she's like, "You want to feel good, John?"
Exactly.
And she showed me. You feel good now? Yes, I feel good.
So did you go up
So
30%
yes.
or double or what?
Ask her.
Not quite 100%, but close.
Okay, very good. Over what period of time? Yeah, over what period? You've been working your whole lives for there, right?
We joined in January of 2019.
Okay.
We got into 3 passive deals right away. Then we did the single family, then the IRO, then the lead.
So in 5 years, you've saved up or you're as wealthy as you were in the last, what, 20? Something like that, maybe? Yeah, it's amazing. All right, cool. So what are we talking about here tonight?
So tonight we're talking about Galveston portfolio, which is 20 doors, but it's actually 3 separate buildings. So this top building is 8 doors, and it's by the medical center, the medical school on the east side of Galveston. Then the other 2 buildings, although they're physically separated, have the same floor plan. And so one is sort of in the middle of Galveston and the other's on the west end. But literally, Galveston's small, so it's like 10 minutes between the farthest ones. So, so they were built in the 1969, 1970. And we bought them in August of 2021. We paid $71 a door, but then you have to add the rehab costs, which was not in the loan, and the closing costs and all that. So all in was $86.
And we bought it from another Lifestyle, remember? So.
Okay.
And they did the case study on it in January after we bought it, and I was like, dang it, we paid too much.
That is a natural reaction.
Because they were here, right?
So our cash out of pocket was $550,000, and we had.
So real quick, I just want to do something a little bit different right here. They bought it by themselves, but a lot of people in the room, you don't have $550,000. So remember what they said when they started, did some passive deals? A lot of these lead investors will take investments as low as $25K. Who could come up with $25K? So what they would do is they would get a bunch of people, and they've been leads in the past as well. We're not talking about their lead deals, where people take $25K. Here's another thing that's important, because remember, I have people watching from Hawaii, California, and that. If you're wherever you're from, in the chat, put where you're from, just so I know. I'll ask David later. I just want to know from different states people are watching. Is live where you want to live. You want to live in a communist state, that's fine. But invest where it makes sense. So we invest in landlord-friendly states like Texas or Georgia or whatever. So we're not going to invest in California or Hawaii. They're not landlord-friendly. Does that make sense? So you can live out there, but you can put $25K in this deal, and this deal, and this deal, and in different areas. I just want to know that are options for you. In this case, though, they bought it by themselves, okay? So go ahead, Corrie.
Yeah, I mean, mostly because we're conservative and we did have the money, and we just wanted to make sure we knew what we were
100%
doing
control.
before we involved other people's money.
And I will tell you that is a common theme among your lead investors. Most of us are very conservative, and we did the same thing. You buy your own property, however small or large you can afford, just kind of to figure it out, because we've never done this before, right? None of us, when you first start, your first one, you never bought it, and it's very scary. Even though you got a bunch of people trying to help you, it's still scary. So your first-time leads who have never done it before, they're taking in all this money, they better well know what they're doing, right? And a lot of leads are very conservative, like, I don't want to take anybody else's money until I can at least prove to myself that I can do it, right?
Who likes that's how the natural progression is. It's very common.
Very good.
But also, there's a lot of people who do syndicate their first multifamily deal, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just a decision. So we had to get a private bank loan because the buildings are separate, so it didn't qualify for agency debt. But it was a good time. So the interest rate was 4.15 for 5 years, 1 year IO. It did have a 25-year AM because it was older property.
And don't worry if you don't understand all this stuff. It's Greek gobbledygook. I'll make sense of it this weekend. They're more advanced, just so you know.
In 2019, we didn't know any of that either.
Yeah.
Any.
So we've owned it for 3 full years now, and these numbers are for the 3rd year, August to August. Well, that's actually 13 months, but you know what I mean. So the income is 285, expenses were 114,000. So our net operating income is 171,000.
And I will tell you that David's going to go out this weekend, but the valuation on multifamily is completely different than single family. Single family, you buy something, they're going to appraise what that house sold for, what that house sold for, what that house sold for, and your square footage, and go, this is what you're worth. On the multifamily, everything is valued based on your net operating income. If that goes up, the value of your property goes up. If that goes down, the value of your property goes down. He'll go over all that this weekend. Right?
It's more as a business than
Yes,
just.
definitely a
Yes.
business. I don't know about
So
20 years.
the net operating income is very important, but also important is the monthly cash flow because I quit my job. So we cash flowed in year 3, $5,000 a month, which was great. 11%.
tax-free, so.
Tax-free, yeah. And actually, we're writing a bunch off of his taxes, so we're
Oh, yeah.
saving. Because I'm a real estate professional,
Yep.
so we can write all of our
And
depreciation.
I'll teach you a real estate professional all that is this weekend.
It's pretty amazing stuff. Pretty amazing
It is.
stuff.
It is pretty amazing stuff. It is.
We were actually talking about that over drinks. People, even CPAs, don't really understand that until you get that first tax return. You're like, holy crap. Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing how that works. All right, cool. So you're living off $5,000 a month now.
No.
Working.
No.
Got it.
So in the 3 years we've had it, we've distributed to ourselves 200,000, and the current valuation is a little more than 2 million, based on an 8.5 cap, which they'll explain. But basically, the lower the cap rate, the higher the value. That's how that equation works. And when I bought it, times were better, interest rates were lower. The cap rate was 7.5. So now it's gone up to 8.5.
But
So
being
She's running her numbers super
Still
conservative. is what's telling me
making
now.
money.
Yeah, I know.
but in all reality, you've spent $500,000 to get in. You've already taken out $200,000, and you still have that in the property. And we're going to see a slide in just a second. The value of that property has done nothing but go up because the net income has gone up, and
So,
They've done
so
very well.
if you're brand new, I always sit there and say, keep it simple. What's in it for me? The only number on that whole entire screen you have to understand is they're making 11% a year. Who understands that? Tax-free. That's the number you need to memorize so far. Okay?
All right.
Well, plus the other tax implications
I know, but they don't know that stuff
on
yet.
my salary, right? So that's a
Plus
key one.
the equity.
Plus the
I'm
equity.
going to give you your debit and credit tattoo later. Don't worry.
all right.
Okay, so like I said, there's 3 separate properties. So Market Street's the one that has 8 units, and this is one of the units that I turned. Some of them had already been turned when I bought it. So of these 8, I turned 4 myself in the 3 years. So you can see,
You
we
turned
put-
4 units in 3 years?
No. In this building, I
Okay.
turned 10 out of 20 in 3 years. The
50%.
rest are, but the rest were either already turned
Right.
or are classic that people just been in forever. So white countertops, white cabinets. We just refurbished the. Painted the countertops, basically, put in flooring. I don't use carpet anymore. Carpet's
Right.
horrible. So then the next property, this is my favorite slide. So this lady and her husband had lived there for over 40 years.
Same apartment.
And they were hoarders. And one of the things I did when I first bought, I was raising the rents. And, nobody likes that. So I would offer them something like, hey, I'm going to raise your rent $150 or $100. But if you want, paint or flooring or appliances, just pick one, And they were like, we want flooring. And I said, all right, clean up all this stuff. So I can see the floor, and I will give you new flooring. Well, that never happened. Anyway, so that was a big turn, and it's beautiful now.
Come on, tell the story. Tell the story.
No,
Tell the
I'm
story.
not.
Yes, you need to tell it.
Tell the story.
So-
Don't you guys want to hear the story about this one? Tell us.
Were they elderly people? Because usually elderly people only move in once.
40 years. You can make the math.
Here's the
math
thing.
thing.
Lee was my mentor. I looked and looked and looked for this property for like a whole year. I analyzed a ton of properties, and Lee would always say, He would always have something negative to say about why I shouldn't buy because it was a hard
No.
time.
His job.
I pointed
It
out.
is his job.
Job.
I may point out some of the
And
challenges
then-
they're going to have. I
Yes.
don't think negative.
Diana Mons in the back. She's my real estate
Diana, wave your hand.
agent from real estate broker from Lifestyles Realty. And so I found this, I have this deal and I think it works. And then Lee says, because he didn't find anything financial to say, he said, in one of these buildings, there's a lot of older people. Are you going to raise their rent so they can't afford to live there anymore? I was like, what? What?
Want to see if she was tough?
I'm like, literally, you're going to have to kick these poor old people to the curb just to make your money.
I was like, fine, I'm going to change my analysis, and in these 6 units, I'm not going to raise the rent because I'm not going to make old people move out onto the
Because
street.
we are nice people.
And
Are you a
then
Democrat, Lee? Oh, just wondering.
he's not. That's why I was
No, I'm
like,
just-
you just have to find something bad to say. Bad.
did they move out?
So they did not move out.
They move out of
Okay,
this
so
earth.
here's the funny bottom line. In the
not
place
funny.
with all the not funny, in the place with all the older people that I didn't raise the rent so much, I turned more of those units because they all passed on.
She waited them out.
I
wow.
waited them out. So in
So she didn't have to
in
kick 'em to the
3
curb.
years, I've
The
had.
saddest case study ever.
They die happy. They die happy. They were happy.
Maybe it's cursed.
Yes, and a place
Finally
they
got the new
love.
floor.
Yeah, exactly.
3 years, 20 units, 4 people died.
I told
That's
you.
a lot, right?
Anywho, all right.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Don't bring up those stories again.
I love this.
But none of them in the apartments.
Exactly.
Okay.
None of them in the apartments. So.
No ghost.
Okay, why do we have
I
to
love that one, story. Love that story.
This
Okay.
one will be memorable.
Creating memories. Good drawing. Diana sold this.
Let's focus.
Okay. So
right, so this
then
is the other.
Avenue S, again, just, updating it, changing from the brown wood to white and gray and redoing the floorings. And,
Yeah, I like the hearse color.
All right, so what happened in 3 years? We said you actually made the 11% returns, and then what's going on else?
Well, so I raised the NOI, I raised the income, the operating expenses held pretty steady. I got lucky with insurance and taxes. So my NOI went up year over year. But then below the line, below the net operating income, you have to subtract out your mortgage, which is principal and interest. So the first year I didn't have any principal because it was instant interest only. So the years 2 and 3, we did have to pay principal. And then year 1, I was using all of my rehab budget for the capital expenses, so that wasn't below the line. But then in years 2 and 3, I spent more than that.
Okay.
So that is taken out
You're
there.
taking the profits to fix up units.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So our cash flow is, 60,000 plus a year for the 3 years. So that's good, 12% on average.
What happens when the NOI goes up? What happens to the value of the property? Very good. What happened in 3 years? So you purchased it at...
I purchased that for 1.5 million. And so interestingly, so I'm using a very conservative cap rate, 8.5, because I bought it 7.5.
It's really worth more. We know that.
So the property value is going up because the NOI is going up. And then if you take out what we owe the bank for the loan, plus the cost to sell and the return of our initially invested money, then you can see in year 1 it's negative, which probably scares people when you look at the financials, right? Like, ooh, that can't be good. But actually, it turned out okay because by year 3, which is now, I mean, it's an approximated with the sale, right? But it's 500,000, which is 92% of our original investment. So that's like 30% a year.
Who'd be okay with that? 92% return. Give him a hand. It's huge.
Yeah, and I will speak to the first year when it's like, okay, so the negative value went down. So that's what you have is negative value. But in reality, they still had cash flow, right? So it was the first year, and the market's going to go up and down if you hold a property for a little while. So the value of your property is going to fluctuate, again, depending on the market, depending on the cap rate. Yeah, so 8.5 is a very conservative cap rate, so your returns are probably a lot more than that. And they still have the equity. So the original $500,000 they had, they still paid it back. They haven't sold the property. If they did pay it back, they would still double it. So they still have $1 million in this property in equity. Does that make sense? Plus their original. So they've done very, very well. Congrats.
Like a little piggy bank.
A little piggy bank.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so how'd you increase the NOI? Because that's what happened to the value of the property.
Raise the rents.
There you go.
Yeah, so
How many ways of raising rents do we have?
There's normally 28 ways. There's now a 29th way called death.
Oh, there you go.
And let me make a comment about death, right?
natural death, people.
No.
Coming off Halloween.
No,
Corey
death.
is now the harbinger of death.
No, I was going to say death.
Debt.
Jet.
Right. Sorry. That's my Spanglish there. So I come from a family that my parents never had a credit card. I gave them the first credit card when I was an engineer, right? So you guys can see a little bit of my background. And we talk about the net worth, how much extra, but also when you look at how much you owe to those banks, you're like, holy cow, right? So it's a different mindset too, right? It's a different mindset that now the money's working for you and it's going through that process, right? And so you have to feel a little bit comfortable of letting that money work for you and seeing these big numbers like, yeah, we owe $1 million to this bank and $2 million, and like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But because the money's moving and everything is moving and it's producing money for you, that's something that I personally had to get used to it. And at the beginning, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
now I'm glad that
It's called leverage. David will go over that this weekend. And there's actually some gurus that say, I don't want to be this net worth. I want to have like $1 gazillion in debt. Well, it depends on if that debt's working for you or if you're working for that debt, right? So as long as the debt is working for you, it's great. And again, we have this much debt on the property. You saw, right? What it's worth, what you got to pay the bank back, and you have plenty of equity. So it's not like it's worth this and you owe the bank this, right? Well, there's plenty of equity in there, so there's really no real risk to that debt, right? Does that make sense? And again, I think
still is scary.
it's still scary, but yeah. All right. So how'd you increase the NOI?
Raise rents.
Raise rents, and then the expenses held steady. A lot of people in Texas had issues with taxes and insurance, and I did too on my Victoria property, but this one, we just got super lucky. And again,
Did you fight your taxes and get them lowered?
Well, yes, of course.
See, so it is not. Luck is where opportunity meets preparedness. You prepared because you had mentors and stuff said we fight our taxes.
Well, so Galveston, for some reason, lowered their rate.
Oh, okay.
But so even though the value went up and we fought it,
Right, you fight it what you can.
we brought it down a lot from what they originally did, but the rate going down actually made what we paid go down,
Awesome.
which is weird. And then because we have a great insurance broker, he found us some A-plus carrier that was looking to fill some niche in his risk portfolio, and our insurance went down, which everybody else's was going
Right.
up like a crazy amount. So
Very nice.
good. Yeah, we used our team. All right, so that's
Awesome.
why
Cool.
income up, expenses down, NOI.
Very good.
Okay, so I worked at my job for 20 years, and a lot of people ask me, how do you like not doing that anymore, doing your real estate thing? And I just say, you know what? I love my boss. She is so awesome. Anytime I need time off, she just lets me have it. She's usually pretty nice.
I'm gonna do like David. Raise your hand that agree with me on my statement. Happy wife, happy life.
That's like the best quote ever.
There we go.
I had my wife do this. She did a case study. Do you know what her quote was? Don't tell me what to do. Pretty much the same.
Very good. So what's next for y'all?
So we're looking to buy another syndication, 80 to 120 doors in Houston area, and then we just really want to continue to to provide good housing to all of our living residents.
Okay, I have a problem with the quote, and I mean with the goal, and I will tell you, and I'll ask you why. So, what does 80 to 120 doors mean? I mean, you could buy Galveston again, or you could buy in the middle of Houston, or you could buy in El Paso. What does the doors really mean? You're not going to buy 80 to 120 doors. What's the goal?
So the goal actually is to have a property that can sustain its own staff.
There you go.
So we want one full-time office person and one full-time maintenance person, and generally that's 80 to 120.
Yeah, so when you get, we call it the rule of 100s, you have one full-time inside and outside person. I'll teach you something called the economies of scale. You have certain staff, and we'll teach you that this weekend.
But that could also mean if you have 40 units in the middle of the Galleria, my rents will be able to afford a full-time staff.
Exactly.
Sorry, it
Yeah.
depends on that too. All right, very good. Long-term goals?
All right, so we want to get up to 3 or 4 properties, right? We actually have a company now, a property management company, and we want to grow that company. I guess happy husband, double happy life.
You'll no longer be a trinket or a souvenir?
Exactly. But the idea is that I can retire from my W-2 and enjoy the flexibility and the freedom that this style provide, right? And
Have the best boss ever. I mean,
oh, there was going to be 2 bosses.
then it will be, don't tell me what to do.
Very good.
So really quick, before we go on, this is important. We have new people here. It's towards the end. Think back when you first came to seminar. I don't know if I taught or Dell or one of us, but it doesn't matter who. What advice would you give the new folks that might be coming this weekend? And you both have your own version of it, maybe, whatever.
Get excited. Like, it is exciting. The 2 days exciting.
I like Corrie much better. She's the most exciting person tonight.
Did y'all both came to the same 2 day?
We both
And I always
came.
encourage, have a couple come together, because one of you might not want to do it, one might, but it's a balance. You understand? You have to support each other. So I like the people.
Yeah, so basically from 2019 to 2020, we split 50-50. I mean, we were both into the passive, evaluating the passive, and both doing the single family. I was dealing with the contractor and the rehabs and all that. And then she's like, okay, I'm retiring. I say, okay, then you don't care. So now she's definitely more the real estate than I am. But I enjoyed actually and the community and getting engaged. I did all the education as well, because I like to know what's going on too. So
Very good.
Well, I mean, one of the things, I'm part of Lifestyles. We advertise the mentoring and the education, but my favorite part is just like the people. Like, everybody's so open. They want to share. They want everybody to succeed. And honestly, I have some of my best friends are here now, and
Little friends do change.
And I just think that that's the most amazing thing, because it's not advertised anywhere. People don't really talk about it, but it's really an amazing community.
And Lee, could you differentiate why it's so powerful that the networking events that we have for our leads, the mastermind group, could you explain that every month before case study, what you guys did back there, for example?
So every
why
month-
it's so powerful for these new guys doing deals.
Because we go to the bar and drink heavily.
Well, they do that.
After the meeting.
they do.
No, it's you're
working.
getting around like-minded people. But before this case study, we'll meet. We'll have all the leads coming together, and we're basically talking about our issues. What's going on with you? Are you guys seeing occupancy go up? Are you seeing occupancy down? My insurance just went through the roof. Who are you using, or what are you guys seeing? We literally talk about anything and everything that are affecting our businesses, because these are businesses, and we're affecting it, and we share like openly. It's a closed door session. It's not recorded. You can't listen in or anything. It's just people trying to figure it out and make your properties work.
It's a technical
So so we can pay out our passives and make everybody happy. But it is really a close group, like you said. It's just everybody's on the same page, just trying to get by.
Now think how powerful the abundance mentality is of lead hosting that for all the people doing that every month. And we do this in every city. All these leads get together and do that. If you own an Exxon over here, and this guy owns a Shell gas station across the street, do they share their numbers or how much things cost or problems? No. But here, Lifestyles, that's the difference, is we all grow together. We might be ordering like whole container loads of stuff from China, tile at 10 cents, and we'll all share it together. It's the power of this group. And sometimes you can't see that, but that's why we're so successful.
Very good. So who's on your team? We talk a lot about team here.
Lee Carroll.
Yay, Lee, give him a hand. He's much better after 3 drinks.
Much better. Much better.
That's when the bad words come out.
No, I think those are around all the time. And Diana Mon, our real estate broker extraordinaire.
Sweet. All right. We have time for a couple questions?
Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Or if we have any online, David? No, we're good? There's one right up front.
Can I say it or do you wait for mine?
Well,
We'll repeat it. Go ahead.
we'll repeat it for you, don't worry.
Well, I'm interested percentage-wise when she started to get into real estate more full-time and became, what is it?
Real estate professional.
Real estate professional. What percentage of taxes did you see get cut from you?
So his question is, when you became and flipped over real estate professional, how much did it affect his W-2 percentage of taxes? How much did it reduce it? That is a very ambiguous question, and there's no way to answer that on a case-by-case basis.
It's
It's significant, but
It depends on how much you can depreciate.
Yeah, it depends
and
on how much you buy.
depreciate it. So you have to be very active to get a
if
good
you're in 20 or
benefit.
30 deals, you're paying nothing basically. But if you only have one, you don't have enough to offset. So there's no exact number. It's sort of like how to be a real estate professional. If I have one house, no, you're not. But if you have 5 or 6, you have no job, it's a majority source of your income, 740 hours a year, I could go into details. That's not tonight. Come to seminar.
But it is,
Let me say it this way: we're very sad that
powerful.
we couldn't buy a property this year.
Very sad.
But we did 2 new passive this year. Actually, we invested in passive this year because we still want to move the money, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of alluded to it, and you basically have been doing it. We mentor people to invest something every single year.
Absolutely.
Make sure there are no gaps in your year, because you might have a taxable event where you didn't buy and you don't have enough depreciation moving forward, and you're going to get a tax bill. So invest every single year in something.
The more active you are, the better your chances.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
yes.
I accidentally buy 1 or 2 apartments a year no matter what. and I wait till my wife's overseas. Like when she went to Africa, I bought 1 apartment. And then when she went to Korea for a month, I bought another apartment. You notice that? And she came back and got pissed at me. Reality.
Exactly. I think we got it right there.
Oh, say you asked about real estate license. First off, none of us have licenses.
None of us.
That would be a job. We don't do that. None of us have licenses.
She's a real estate professional. That's a tax designation.
It's a tax word. It's
not a- it's
here's
not a
all you do
degree
is
or
you,
anything.
you sit there and check a box. You're a real estate professional. Do you like that?
Oh, just
No classes,
okay.
no nothing.
It's not a class.
It's just a tax designation.
Yeah.
Now, I think that with the education that we got here, I do believe she's a real estate professional. I mean, definitely she.
Yeah,
is.
but it's really an hourly requirement.
No, I'm talking from a tax point of view, but also from their knowledge and what
yeah.
we're doing.
But
Yeah,
not a technical
it's-
analysis.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more? Yes.
Sure.
On all these show and tells that we've seen tonight, are they representative or are they the best of the best?
The great question. So what Alan asked was, of these stories, are they the best of the best or are they the average deal? Here's what I teach. Let's take single family. It's much easier for new people to understand. What do I say the average out-of-pocket is? $30,000. So you have some at 35, you have some at 10. This one happened to be 23. That's pretty much average of deals. I've seen deals come out to members recently, 10, 15 out-of-pocket, 400% returns. Better than what we saw. Who agrees with me? See, these are real people. They get email blasts of these deals. So we just show whatever we're showing tonight, but you can go back through hundreds of case studies. Some deals will make 50%, some make 200%. It's whatever they do. It's people volunteering to share their story.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
more
Alan,
than-
we consider that our case is pretty average. Actually, when they ask for it, it's like, really?
Yeah.
Because we think that it's.
And we,
it's
like for
honest
example, I
enough.
think last month
We were
had-
surprised
we had
to be
somebody making a
here.
50% return instead of 100%. And then we have somebody at 200%. The point is, I go, what's in it for me? If I'm in all these deals across the line, I don't know Mike's exact numbers, so I'm not going to quote him, but there's another member out of Austin. He's in like 50 deals like him. I go, what's your average every year? He goes, look, my average every year is cash on cash return across my whole portfolio is 8%. And I pretty much make 100% about every 3 years. It ends up being like a 24% or whatever, 30% internal rate of return if you take the two together. The point is that better than what you're doing now? That's what's in it for me. And then you have to decide, do you want to do it by yourself or do you want to invest with someone else? You got to decide. But that's what we teach you this weekend, to know what is right for you. Everybody's different. Do you want to be lazy like Mike and have a lazy river? Or do you want to still work like they do? You have a choice.
All right. Any other questions?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, one last
Hold that one more.
The twins keep asking questions. They always do.
My question is, you all were both the IROs in as well as leads. So given someone's trying to fast track their growth and get to the point to where you are, which one do you feel will be the best track, or even going passive to get to the point to where you have a good balance of experience and knowledge, but also you're able to move relatively quickly?
Well, they can give their opinion, but it really depends on you. It depends on the person. Everybody has a little bit different path. It depends on how much financial resource you have. Depends on how much time you have. Do I hate my boss? Do I love my boss? You know, and then do I have $20,000? Do I have $120,000? It all depends on your person, but as mentors as well, we'll help you get you on that path, the one that fits your personality, fits your growth, like what you want to do.
Yeah, and it's hard because, like, I'm a very aggressive person, and I'm finally starting to slow down, which is hard. I'm only buying like 2 or 3 a year. I'm not buying like 10 a year or whatever, so that is slow.
So when we started with the passive, we never thought that we were going to be lead. Yeah. When we did the single, we never thought that we we're going to have an IRO. So we evolved through it, and it was a progression. Actually, we did not have that plan. Like, oh no, yeah, we're going to be a lead investor. No.
Some people come in and they're like, I'm going to be a lead.
Yeah.
And they just be a lead.
And they do, yeah.
We weren't that.
Our case, no.
A great example is both me and Lee, same type of thing. We came in here, and everybody's like, well, Dave, you own all these 20 different apartments throughout the state of Texas, and you're in all these passive deals and millions of dollars. It started with one house. It started with him with like 7 or 10 houses. The point is, I love what Lee says, just buy something. It doesn't matter if it's a house, and I love the first guy. He came up here and goes, Dell sold him, just buy 3 houses, and you'll be, one house, he's successful. He's already making a great return. So you guys bought a duplex, I remember, because you did a case study.
5 houses total.
5 houses now, see? But that's better than what you started. Remember when you did a duplex or whatever it was? I remember that. So my point is just keep coming, keep going, do something.
Yeah, the easiest thing, I mean, we do multifamily road trips once a month. I'll be standing up here and a bunch of new people will join, they'll start. And I'm like, if you're scared to death, I'm like, just go buy a single family house. Yep. Just buy one house. It's scary, but you'll buy that first one and you'll be like, okay, well that wasn't hard and I did what they said, that wasn't hard. Okay, buy another one. And you get over that apprehension and then you're on
and all of a sudden you're up here and you bought 10 houses.
Yeah.
And then the new people ask the question, was it hard? And we remember when you were scared on that first one. Oh my God, I don't know. I'm afraid of this. My wife's yelling at me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, everything was easy. No, remember back. Yeah. Notice he's reminding people, no, remember, tell the truth.
Mike, after you invested your first 50, when did you, the next investment, how long did it take?
Another 5 months.
Another 5 months or so. And then after that, a month, 2 months? I mean, it gets progressive, like, it's just, you
then
get
you
over.
buy 3, 5, 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's natural progression.
It is
but you have to get over your fear to start
It
with.
is like cheddar cheese, Pringle chips.
I don't eat cheese.
And you have that big tube, and your wife says you can have one. And when she leaves the room, what do? You eat the whole thing. Who understands that? That is what real estate is like once you make 100% return one time.
Very good. All right, well, guys, thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you guys very much.